Steel, where we talk all things Pittsburgh Steelers, no BS, just the real steel. I'm your host, Jeff. I am joined by my co-host, Polt, and there is nothing better to talk about right now than a Pittsburgh Steelers victory. And boy, do we got one of those. We got some good, we got some bad. We're going to talk through it all and recap this Week 1 win against the New York Jets. But Polt, happy victory week, Week 1 victory week, man. How you doing over there?
Man, I will say week one is one of the biggest weeks, I think. I think it's most important to get a win. I mean, just for your own sanity as a fan, because coming out of week one 0-1 is one of the worst feelings ever. And so the fact, like you said, there's a lot to talk about. They gave us plenty to talk about, a lot of good, a lot of even more bad. But we're 1-0, and that's at the end of the day all that really matters.
Yeah, a win on the road, 34-32 against the Jets. I would say really headlined here by our brand new quarterback, Aaron
Yep.
Rodgers. 244 yards through the air, four touching pass downs. That'd be an interesting game. Passing touchdowns.
You
Um,
got there.
yeah, well, I mean, hey, if you want to edit that out, you can. If we want to roll, we can roll. But four passing touchdowns. That's like the first time that's happened um, since Ben, I think. And I think 2020 is the last time I saw four passing touchdowns for a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. And
Yep.
then to have that big of a game in a Week 1 opener, unheard of. And I saw a stat somewhere that said that Aaron Rodgers is the first quarterback ever to have four touchdown passes in a debut with a new team. Um, so
That's awesome.
absolutely, you know, unreal stuff. And it was a battle. It was a back and forth game. There were times where we had the lead. There were times where the Jets were up. It seemed like the Jets were up a lot more in that game, but we battled. There's a lot that we're going to be able to talk about. So where do you want to get started? Because there's a ton here we can get to.
Ah, man, you lead the way wherever you want, because, yeah, if we could talk about anything.
Yeah, well, let's do it because I think it's worth noting that this was just a high-scoring game in general.
Yeah.
19-17 was the score at the half. The Steelers were down, but what's worth noting here is we got a touchdown on our opening drive. We got an opening drive touchdown, and that very rarely happens, right? It seems like we have not had that happen in.
I was gonna say I don't have the stat, but there was a stat that it's the first time in like 6 years or something like that. Like it's
Yeah,
insanity.
and
Well, not 6 years, but like you know what I mean. It's been a long time.
well, and it was an incredible drive, right? It was a 10
Yeah.
play, 71-yard drive, almost 6 minutes. And I'll be honest, I was talking with you, I think it was last week, a little bit before, and I said, man, you know that we're going to come out and that 3 and out on the first drive, the Steelers, is just going to hit different. Um,
Yep.
but there was, a plethora of different kind of plays that went in here, a lot of passing, but Kenneth Gainwell was kind of the back that we used more prominently throughout this game, but a lot on this first drive, more so than
Yeah.
Jalen Warren. And ultimately, it was capped off by a 22-yard touchdown pass to Ben Skoranek, which shout out to Ben because that's awesome. And we're big fans of Ben Skoranek
Yeah.
as a big special teams guy. Had a couple big games last year. I think he got my balls of steel, one or two games last year.
Yeah.
Um, so that was just awesome to see. Like, it was so fun to watch the Steelers score an opening drive touchdown.
Yeah, and I mean it was cool because first of all, Aaron Rodgers he after the game said exactly what every single one of us was thinking. He had at no point in the week leading up or on Sunday did he expect Ben Skoranek to get the first touchdown of the season. He said that we all were thinking it, so it was funny to see that. And we got introduced to the nickname Benny Sco. I didn't realize he went by that, but I did notice that is his Twitter handle, so I probably should have known that. But I love that. But to your point, it looked exactly like we expected. The first set of downs, it's 3rd and 10. The Jets kicked the field goal. We're down 3-0, and I'm like, here we go again. Another season of we can't get the offense going, and then we converted, and then we had another 3rd and 10, and we converted that too. So it seemed to be the exact opposite. Just that first drive, the exact opposite of what we've experienced the last couple of years, right? I mean, I guess it was the same, and we got long, third downs, but we were able to convert, and we were making plays that we don't normally make. So it was a great opening to the season, I think.
Yeah, 10 total drives for the Steelers. That's if you don't count that um, can kneel down at the end of the game. 10 total
Yeah.
drives. 6 of them were scoring drives. That's seems, again, like it doesn't happen, or it hasn't happened in a while. 4 of those touchdowns, 2 of those field goals. And man, we got to talk about the Wizard of Oz and that 60-yard career-long field goal. Um, Dude has ice in his veins. Ice in his veins.
He does, and I think my favorite part about it is, did you see what his quote about it after the game?
Mike Tomlin's?
No, what? Well, yeah, Mike Tomlin's quote's great, but did you see what Boswell said?
No, I
I'm
didn't.
pretty sure he said that he just lines up. He does his whole thing that he needs to line up the kick. He says he kicks it. He said he saw it go right down the middle and turned away and didn't even watch it go through the goalposts. That's how
Yeah,
confident he is.
if you watch the video of it, you can see that. I mean, he sees it gets off on the line that he wants, and he's like, all right, it's good. That dude is a total baller. Um, Good for him. Career long 60-yarder. And you know what?
Yeah.
What's even better than how good of this was for Boswell? This was a huge win for the team
Yeah.
because now that kick happened, Mike Tomlin has a level of confidence to say, hey, we can kick that 58-yarder. We can kick that 59-yarder. We don't necessarily need to, play field position,
Yep.
punt the ball. We can get points on the board. And so, to me, that was one of the biggest takeaways that I get from this week 1 win, because we didn't have that at all last year. How many times did we have an opportunity where we probably had a 55 to 62 type yard field goal
Yep.
that we just flat out didn't try? And this kick was,
Good from
I
70.
don't know exactly. I don't know what the conditions were in terms of weather and the field and all that stuff, but this kick was good for 5 or 10 more yards. So
Yeah.
Boswell has a leg.
I mean, and did we talk about it last episode? The new rules with special teams. They I don't know if you know about this, but they changed it where it doesn't have to be new balls. It can be broken in balls that the team brings. So that helps a kicker too. You've listened to Pat McAfee talk about it, or any kicker. They say that makes a huge difference. It allows you to get a lot more distance. But to your point, since last season, Boswell's 15, including on Sunday, he's 15 to 17 from 50 plus yards. He made the 56-yarder in the first half. That was easy from 60, and then he made the 60-yarder, but Tomlin doesn't usually like doing that. He doesn't usually give him the opportunity. So I'm hoping with this new rule change, and now that he's seen him go out and nail a 60-yarder like it's nothing with the game on the line, I hope he's a little bit more willing to do it, because in my opinion, I don't think he lets him kick that field goal at the end of the game if he doesn't have a choice. I mean, it was basically a situation where it was 4th and 11. We had no other option. But if we had the option to go for it, I bet he goes for it.
Agreed. And so for that reason, I think this was huge for the team to have
Right.
this opportunity
Agreed.
to see what Chris Boswell can do. And so it gets us, now we're in that position, and it's not the end of the half, or it's not the end of the game. We
Right.
can still go out there and attempt this field goal. And is Boswell going to make all of these kicks?
No.
Probably not. But, we know that he's capable of it, and we know he's one of the best, most accurate kickers from a long distance. So I'm just happy to see it. Big Boswell fan. Told you I bought his jersey this year. That's who I'm repping all year. And gosh, we should pay him. We should pay him whatever he wants.
That's what I was going to say.
A blank check, man. Just whatever he wants. I think he's deserving.
If I was Art Rooney, I would have walked into that locker room and said, here you go, sir. Here's a blank check. Put whatever the hell you want on it. I don't care. This is another game that he wins the game for us. And he won me a prediction to start the year. We're 1 game in, and I've already won a prediction.
Hey, listen, so remind the listeners here what the over-under was on this Boswell.
Over-under was 58.5 yards as his longest field goal for the year.
And that hit, and
Yep.
I will not even defend myself. I will just say that is a bet that I am extremely happy losing.
Yes.
And I'm very much okay with it. And really, it wasn't a matter of can Chris Boswell kick this. You asked me time and time again.
Yep.
The answer is yes. I think I might have even mentioned this.
You did. No,
I
you
think it
did.
was strictly based on the fact that I didn't think he would get an opportunity.
Yeah.
I got that in week 1, so that's awesome. I hope we see 10 more 60-yard field goals throughout the year.
I agree.
It happen. So that's a lot of talk on Boz and special teams. Let's dive into the offense a little bit, because I think we need to talk about the offensive line, but we also need to talk a little bit about this run game, and then we definitely should talk about the pass game. I kind of want to start there just because.
Go ahead. Let's do it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers involved throughout this game. Tight ends were involved with both Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. 8 total catches amongst them. DK, what an acquisition, man. Talk about a guy who is big and strong and quick and fast. 4 catches for 83 yards. That's an average of about 21 yards per catch. 7 total targets, so you know that he's Aaron Rodgers' favorite target to start. But Calvin Austin got involved, Ben Skoranek on the touchdown, and a little bit to some of the running backs, both Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell involved. So the passing game, I thought for how much the offensive line kind of collapsed on
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, man, this was so great to see from a passing perspective.
Yeah, and what I enjoyed too was we got a lot of answers to questions we had, but then there was also a lot of things that we assumed that were also proven true. And I think that was really cool. Obviously, DK Metcalf is our number one receiver, and that was pretty clear. And we're going to feature him, and we did feature him. 7 targets is a lot. He did have that 1 catch early, but he figured it out after that. And I loved his yards after the catch. I mean, there was a lot of yak and a lot of big plays that he made, whether it was probably short of the sticks a couple times and he was able to get the first. I love that. One of the question marks we got answered, Calvin Austin's our number 2 receiver.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
No doubt about it, right? 6 targets, 4 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. That touchdown, he was wide open. The moss he had towards the goal line on another drive. I mean, he is our number 2 receiver. And I don't know if you noticed, there was a tweet today by Jordan Schultz, who's an insider, and he said something along the lines of the Steelers they felt this way. They felt really good about Calvin Austin, and he is their number 2. He's been in the building all along, and he gets inside information. I think that's the team basically saying, hey, we like what we got. We like Calvin Austin. We're good to go. So that was great to see him step up. And then I really think what you brought up with the tight ends, we questioned how it was going to work out. We questioned if Pat Freiermuth was going to be involved. He was involved in that first third down conversion. I mean, made some big catches. But Jonnu Smith did exactly what we kind of thought. They featured him. He was second on the team in targets with 6, tied with Calvin Austin. 5 catches, only 15 yards, but he did have the touchdown on the little pitch pass. And I think Jonnu Smith's going to be a big part of this offense, and it seems like that already started. Arthur Smith designed probably 3 to 4 plays, I think, that were specifically for him. So I look to see, he didn't practice much, so as the rapport with Rodgers gets better and he starts to feel better, I think he'll have an even bigger impact.
I think so too. Interesting to note here, Roman Wilson, I think 10 snaps total that he played.
Yes.
So who knows what's going to happen there, but you're absolutely right. Calvin Austin is our clear number 2. If you look at snap counts, DK had 95% of snap counts. Calvin Austin had 80%.
Yep.
And then you look, Roman Wilson tied with Ben Skoranek, and Scotty Miller had just 1 less at 10 snaps, and then 9 for Scotty Miller. But from a tight end perspective, Jonnu Smith in there 66% of the time, Pat Freiermuth 50% of the time, and Darnell Washington 46% of the time. So even though Darnell Washington wasn't necessarily involved in the passing game, he's still a prominent feature in the offense too, whether that's from a blocking perspective or, a lot of our touchdowns were kind of outside of the red zone.
Yeah.
So I really do envision Darnell Washington, if we're on the 7-8 yard line, that we're going to run maybe a 3 or 4 tight end set, and that type of package is going to open up, a fade route or something like that for Darnell Washington. So just a cool offensive kind of scheme, I would say, in what we saw. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is the type of quarterback that fits Arthur Smith's offense,
Yeah.
And there were definitely times where you saw Aaron Rodgers go up to the line and it was, kill or move on to the next play, and that was also freaking awesome to see, because when was the last time we had a play caller like that since Ben?
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun to kind of watch and enjoy. But as far as things look, man, this offense looks to be, in a good spot from a passing perspective, and hopefully can only get better.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I think it is important to mention that was a question mark coming into the game too, right? I mean, that was CBS's big point for us. How's this marriage going to work? And Rodgers actually brought it up in the post-game interview, making fun of that, people asking that question. But we didn't really know. Is it going to be Arthur Smith's offense? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers' offense? And is Aaron Rodgers going to check out of everything? And it seemed to be a really good blend. It seemed to be a lot of Arthur Smith plays, a lot of his designs, but when Rodgers was in the shotgun, like he wants to be, he was able to make checks and get us into the right plays. And I think that's going to be really important for us, because the offensive coordinator, doesn't matter how good you are, can only do so much. The guy on the field, and when you have a quarterback as seasoned as Aaron Rodgers, I think it's important for him to use that knowledge that he has and that experience. And I think it meshed perfectly throughout the game. And it really, you could tell there was an impact.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. But let's talk about what didn't mesh, and that was
Cool.
our run game. 53 total yards on the ground.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren 11 carries for 37 yards. However, most of those came in the second half. I thought I saw a stat or heard the announcer say that Jalen Warren had 9 yards in the first half on the ground. Kenneth Gainwell pretty heavily involved, I think a lot more than we expected,
Yes.
especially after the fact that Jalen Warren just got paid,
Hmm.
got an extension. So that was really interesting to see. You're just paying who you consider to be your RB1, and you're not necessarily even featuring him as much. 7 carries for 19 yards for Kenneth Gainwell. And then Caleb Johnson, our rookie out of Iowa, who I would say had maybe an up and down preseason, had some good flashes towards the end, but started off pretty slow.
Yeah.
Only 1 carry, 1 opportunity for him, and it was a loss of 2 yards. So interesting kind of the fact that the run game wasn't melding in the sense that, a Pittsburgh Steelers team traditionally would have their run game work out for them.
Yeah, and I want to say that I think the Kenneth Gainwell snap count actually, because he outsnapped Jalen Warren. I mean, I think that has a lot to do with what I was kind of saying, and here's a good stat to kind of back this up. There was, oh, if I can find it, we were really really bad on first down, and when you get behind the six, yeah. So on first down on Sunday, the Jets had 8.2 yards per play. That was second in the whole league. We had 3.1 yards per play, which was 27th out of 32. So we got behind the sticks on almost every single drive, every single first down, and they kind of showed their card. I think they want Kenneth Gainwell being their receiving back, their third down back, and Tomlin even came out and said that today. They asked him why he was in there so much, and Tomlin said he killed us when we were in Philly last year. He killed us and made a lot of big plays on third downs, and they trust him. And I think that, not that they don't trust Jalen, I think they like what they see out of Kenneth Gainwell. And we got in these third and long, second and long situations, and I think they just went to the package of we're gonna pass the ball, and I believe that's why Kenneth Gainwell got more snaps. But in the second half, I mean, the first 3 quarters or first 2.5 quarters, we couldn't run. I mean, we couldn't run for anything. It was awful. But then towards the end of the second half, Jalen Warren did have a few decent runs, and I think he finally started to show himself and make an impact. So I don't know. I feel like the offensive line has some work to do. This was the first time all 5 of them, I think, played this year, because I don't think Sayamalu played at all during the preseason. So maybe it's a little bit of that. But yeah, we can't rely on Aaron Rodgers to carry us by himself every single game this year. We're going to have to figure out this running game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I think a lot of it is going to fall here on the offensive line. 4 sacks that they let up that, I would say, generally speaking, as a Steelers fan, I'm pretty critical of quarterbacks when they take sacks.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be pretty quick to blame the quarterback and say, oh, they were holding on to the ball too long, or a lot of this falls to them. But
Yeah.
in the case of what we saw on Sunday against the Jets, I really don't think Aaron Rodgers was at fault for most of the times he was sacked. His pocket collapsed on him a lot. Broderick Jones, unfortunately, just did not look good.
Yeah.
This is a guy that, was drafted pretty highly, regarded as one of the best players in his draft class, and just hasn't really showed up. I think he shined a little bit in his last preseason game or at camp. Like, there was something that was like, okay, maybe he's starting to come into it. But overall, like, he didn't have a great off season. He didn't have a great kind of start to
No.
preseason. And it's showing, and it's unfortunate for a guy who is now in his natural spot, right, natural position, and he's a big dude. He's a guy that you think should be able to really move people and play well. But I think something's in either his head going on, or maybe he's just not the right fit for our team at tackle. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some pretty bad tape out there and some pretty bad film if you go scroll through Twitter or X and look for it. I know Trey Essex, he's now doing a show with Charlie Batch every week, and he was pretty critical of the technique that Broderick Jones is doing, which, I mean, if we're talking technique in year 3, somebody's got to be coaching him up. Like, I mean, I blame him, but also I blame the coaching staff. Like, why is nobody teaching him the right technique? I don't understand that. And then Big Ben today on his football podcast was pretty critical of Project Jones. I'm seeing a lot of people calling for his head, and I don't think they're going to give up on him that quickly, but he needs to be better. I mean, I think he gave up 3 sacks out of the 4 is what they attributed it to, and I think like another pressure. So yeah, you can't have your blind side just being wide open all games. So it's kind of, honestly, maybe we're lucky we had 244 yards passing because it was not very good up front.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what our line consists of. 3 guys who were drafted in either the first or second round.
Yep.
Mason McCormick, who was arguably like one of the bigger steals of the 2024 draft, and Sayamalu, who's a long time, vet in
Yeah.
the league. And with that amount of talent, for how bad that line performed overall is just, I really don't think it's acceptable. So hopefully Pat Meyer's doing something there from a coaching perspective
He better
figure some things out, because I don't want to say he's number 1 on my shit list right now, but he's pretty close. Like, this offensive line was just, not what it is, not what it should be. And, we can say what we want, but at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. He tore his Achilles 2 years ago. You don't want a guy like that getting hit. You never want your quarterback getting hit, but you never want a guy like him getting hit. And so it worries me a little bit. And I go back to what Ben Roethlisberger said on one of his podcasts is, Aaron Rodgers is going to have a really productive year. He's going to play really well, barring the offensive line holds up. And,
Yep.
and I heard that and I was like, is there something that he knows that we don't? And
Right.
It has become apparent that what he was talking about is so true. So we'll see what happens with the improvement of this offensive line. Hopefully reps. Hopefully they stay healthy. Hopefully, they continue to work together and grow as a unit. But we'll see.
Yeah, I completely agree. Before we move on from the offense, I just wanted to give 2 more little stats here. First of all, we talked about the Rodgers influence. We had 4 slants this week. All of 2024, we had 17.
Sheesh.
So that was the most in the league, or tied for the most in the league on Sunday. And I know that's a big Aaron Rodgers thing, but look, it worked. I mean, we threw a slant over the middle to Pat Freiermuth for the first 3rd down conversion of the year. So I thought that was interesting. And then we scored 31 points, which is the most points we've scored in a Week 1 game since 2016.
34 points.
Or 34. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 34. And, well, right, yeah, this was, and even 31 would have done it. But Big Ben, I mean, that's only the 5th time we've scored 31 points since he retired. So, I mean, it was a really big, not usual scoring output for us. So,
Hey, when the Steelers are able to put this many points on the board, I had heard, I think it was Adam Schefter on the Pat McAfee show had said something along the lines of, the Steelers have not won a game in over 6 years where their opponent scores more than 30 points. And
that's crazy.
But it tracks, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know the team that we had over the last 5 years. And you tell me if a team is scoring 30 points, we're not scoring 30 points.
No.
We win our games at 17. We win our games, 14 to 9. Like, we have these really, really low grudge scoring games. We hit the over in this game, and the fact that we just scored 34 points is extraordinary. So to the moon, man. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and actually, I just thought of this too, and this will lead us into the defensive side of the ball. I think this also proved to me, and we can doubt them on this decision, but I think this week, Sunday proved that they didn't trust either of the quarterbacks last year. That offense looked entirely different than we saw the entire year last year with Arthur Smith, either with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. I mean, we were throwing the ball over the middle of the field. He was doing all these gadget or like different kind of like Arthur Smith schemed up plays, all these play actions, different things like that, which I didn't really even recognize the offense, to be honest with you. And I think that has something to do with him trusting Rodgers and not trusting Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. And the Russell Wilson one, maybe looked good on Sunday, but Justin Fields definitely made us look bad on Sunday, and that decision not to trust him. So I hope it continues to be a positive for us, but you could definitely see that was a big theme to me. That he trusts Rodgers fully and obviously didn't trust anybody last year.
Yeah, totally agree. So let's take that and move to the defense. We can
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, what Justin Fields ultimately was able to kind of do to the Steelers here. Um, he had 218 yards through the air. He rushed for a touchdown. He had almost 50 rushing yards. Justin Fields uh, looked like a pretty solid quarterback. And sorry, I need to correct that. Two rushing touchdowns
Yeah.
and one passing touchdown. Um, Justin Fields had, quite frankly, a pretty darn good day against a defense that should know what it's like to play against Justin Fields. Um, he had his main guy, one of his go-to targets at Ohio State. He's an Ohio State quarterback. Garrett Wilson, he had 7 catches for almost 100 yards and a really nice touchdown
Yeah.
for the Jets. And their run game was really, really moving. Breece Hall, their lead back, 19 carries for 107 yards. They made our defense look bad, flat out bad. Now, one thing I think we're going to get into here and talk about, Deshaun Elliott goes out pretty early, who we talked about kind of being a pivotal veteran piece of this
Absolutely.
defense. I think he's who you actually predicted to have the most tackles this year, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you are
Yeah.
correct.
So, I mean, that just goes to show, right? Like Deshaun Elliott, especially with Minka leaving, how important of a piece he's going to play. So, does him going out have an impact on how our defense performed? Yeah, absolutely. But isn't it an excuse that he was out and our defense performed that bad? Not at all. So,
No.
I think that the defense still would not have performed well, generally speaking, with him in there. Um, so I think we have a few things to talk about from a defensive perspective, but just while we're on that topic, with Deshaun Elliott hurt, Mike Tomlin today in his press conference, I think it's a knee. Mike Tomlin said that he's going to be
Mhm.
out for this game. We don't have really a definitive type of uh, quantification of or qualification of what that injury is, um, so to say. So the Steelers actually made a signing at safety, brought in Jabril Peppers. Most recently was cut from the Patriots, but he was a first-round draft pick back in 2017 for the Browns. Um, really stout playing career at Michigan, solid NFL vet, I would say, almost 100 games played under his belt. Um, he had one year where he almost had 100 tackles in a year. So what do you think we're getting with Jabril Peppers? And by the way, Mike Tomlin did say, like, this signing is because of the Deshaun Elliott injury. So maybe there is a little bit more to it that he's not talking about. But what do you make of this signing? Because I feel like this is a pretty sizable move.
Yeah, I mean the word on the street or what everybody's saying with Deshaun Elliott is it's an MCL sprain, and they think it's actually not serious, and they think he's only going to be out a couple weeks. They're aiming for him to be back week 4. So if that happens, now that might be they might keep him out to week 6 because we have the week 5 bye. Probably makes sense, but I think the Jabril Peppers thing you would expect it to be long term, kind of like you said. But maybe they noticed that secondary, Chuck Clark and Juan Thornhill being your starting safeties, isn't going to work. And Jabril Peppers, I mean, he had a really good year last year. He's been one of the better safeties statistically the last couple of years. And I think it was like a money thing, maybe, or maybe just not fitting the new scheme in New England, why he was a cap casualty or like a cut late in training camp. But I think it's great. I think he gives us more grit. He gives us more tenacity on the back end, which I think we're missing. Jalen Ramsey showed a little bit of that, but we don't really have that at safety right now. So I love that, and I think Jabril Peppers is going to be really important to this team. And I think it's a good signing even with Deshaun Elliott. Because we kind of said that was one of the areas of concern coming into the year. We didn't like Juan Thornhill as the second safety. We loved Deshaun Elliott, but we didn't like Juan Thornhill or Chuck Clark and Miles Killebrew. We just didn't think that was up to standard as being a really good safety set. So I think Peppers, man, I can't say his name, but I think he's going to make an immediate impact. It's going to be hard coming in a week before a game. But I think he's going to make an immediate impact. Tomlin said they've been looking at him since Michigan. They liked him then. They still like him now. And like I said, he's had a couple really good years, and I think he's going to make a huge difference. And we quite frankly need it. Chuck Clark, I can't remember. Did we sign him to the the active roster.
I think we did at the start of the year. Yeah,
That's right. When we
I
went
think
on
he's on the
IR.
active roster.
Right. I think we cut him and then signed him back. So he is on the active roster. He'll probably get the start, but I think Peppers is going to be a really key contributor. And I really like the signing. People were saying Justin Simmons we should have got. Jabril Peppers is younger, and has actually been better in the last couple of years. So I think it's a great signing.
Yeah, he was in the building today, which is Tuesday. Um, and so you gotta envision he's probably gonna start practicing with the team on Wednesday and getting thrown into the fire. Just to cover that, 2022 and 2023 with New England, he played 17 games, so all the games, and then 15 games respectively. Um, 60 total tackles, 78 total tackles. In that span, he had one forced fumble, he had two interceptions, um, and made a sizable impact on the defensive side of the ball. So I think it's a good signing, and hopefully he comes in and you know plays with a little fire under his ass, and we play the Patriots week 4, so
Yeah.
um, or week
Or
3
three.
actually. I think
Three.
week 3, yeah. So he'll definitely want to be out there for that.
That's a great point too, because if you look at his X feed, I mean, he was not happy he got cut, and he made some comment yesterday right before he got signed, or I think it was yesterday before he got signed by the Steelers, like, hey, things happen for a reason or something like that. Like, I think he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder, and he's used to the AFC North, which we know is always important because it's a different kind of game. He played for the Browns for 2 years, so yeah, I think it's an all around great signing. Good job by Omar Khan getting that done quickly.
Totally agree. Very, very quick, and it's a needed addition. So, in this game with Deshaun Elliott going out, he had, I think, what, 6 total tackles,
Which is
um,
crazy.
which is crazy. So you might have known something that we didn't with predicting him to be
Oh
kind of the
man.
leading tackler. Maybe he'll be able to come back in. But Chuck Clark was our leading tackler for the game. Um, Although him
And Juan
combined with
Thornhill.
Patrick Queen and Juan Thornhill all had 8, so I guess I should four-way in terms of that leading tackle. But I think what's notable here is just how much the defense overall got torched. The Jets had 23 total first downs, almost 400 combined yards, and the Steelers had no turnovers. We had that one turnover that was a special teams forced by Kenneth Gainwell on the kickoff, but outside of that, the Jets team possessed this ball for 35 minutes, and again, almost 400 yards. Like, they, quite frankly, not from a scoring perspective, but they dominated in terms of keeping the ball.
Yeah, and it kind of was flashbacks to how last year ended, right? Last year we gave up how many rushing yards we gave up 299 rushing yards to the Ravens in the playoff game. I mean, this was kind of the same thing. We gave up 182 rushing yards to the Jets, and I mean, I think that's terrible. It's a bad way to start the year, especially when you preach for all offseason the run defense is your number one thing you're working on, and the number one thing is going to change, it's going to be better, and then it's just absolutely not in week 1. I also think it's really bad that, like you mentioned, Chuck Clark had 8 tackles, led the team. Juan Thornhill also had 8 tackles. Deshaun Elliott didn't even play the whole game. He had 6 tackles.
Into the secondary.
That means 20 tackles from your 3 safeties means, yeah, they're getting to the second level every single time. Peyton Wilson only had 5. Cam Hayward only had 3. Keanu Benton only had 2. Those are the guys that are supposed to be stopping the run for your team, and they were nowhere to be found. And I think that's not a good sign. Keanu Benton, if you look at everything, got absolutely destroyed. And that's kind of been, I guess, a gripe on him. We're really, really are missing Derek Harmon. I think he'll make an immediate impact once he gets there. But until then, I mean, yeah, how many yards is Seattle going to run on us? I don't know, because we never really shut them down.
Yeah, Seattle has 2 good running backs, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if you do know that you watched this Ravens and the Bills kind of shootout game, and granted we'll get there when we get there, but it was
Yeah.
really concerning. I was like, if we can't stop Breece Hall and this Jets team from putting up almost 200 rushing yards, what the hell are we going to do when Derrick Henry comes in and Lamar Jackson and they ran 300 yards on us in
Right.
the playoff game? So we'll get there when we get there. Ravens games are always a little bit different, but we got to find a way to kind of clean up this running game, because this run defense, because it's just not acceptable where it is right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Justin Fields carried the ball 12 times for 48 yards, and he definitely, you saw multiple times where TJ was not crashing the handoff because of the read option. He thought Justin would keep it, and Justin had that really good fake on his one touchdown. That was really well done. But Juan Thornhill came out after the game and said they weren't prepared for Justin Fields to run the ball.
Yep, I heard that.
I I I don't. That's his calling card. I mean, you guys. He was on your team last year. You know that's what he's best at. You literally pretty much said he can't throw the ball, and you didn't. Your defense wasn't ready to stop the run against him. I just think it's a lack of preparation. It's a lack of scheme. It's a lack of just everything from the whole defensive side of the ball. And I mean, I just think that's pitiful. And if we're going to be a good defense, self-proclaimed number one by the players, I mean, they're going to have to figure out these holes in the running game.
Certainly didn't look like it, and maybe their wallets are just too heavy, man. I mean, there's a lot of money in that defense.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that we could maybe, hope for, and won't hang our hats there, but perhaps this Jets team is is a good solid offense, right? Like
Yeah.
that's definitely gonna be part of it. If this Jets team goes, and whatever, they win a couple games, then that's gonna make me feel a lot worse. But they very well could be a solid team. And I mean, Justin Fields definitely played the part. They have a good backfield. Braylon Allen, their second running back, he's a good RB2, and
Their O-line looked really good too.
right.
I mean, their O-line looked really good.
And we had what? I think just one sack.
One sack.
On the stat sheet. Yeah.
Yep.
And who was that?
It was Highsmith.
It was Highsmith. Highsmith, by the way, we do have to mention 8 total pressures for Alex Highsmith, which was tied for first amongst the entire NFL.
Yeah.
3 other guys had 8 pressures. And just what a great game for Alex Highsmith. He continues to me just to perform and fly under the radar. When you have TJ Watt as the headline, to have a number 2 in Alex Highsmith is great. So
Yeah.
love to see that.
Yeah, my only concern is, and this is something that I've seen floating around, and it definitely makes sense, and it kind of goes with him and Peyton Wilson. Are they kind of one-trick ponies? Peyton Wilson being like a good pass defensive kind of guy, and Highsmith being good rushing the passer. Because if you look at the running chart, they purposely avoided T.J. Watt and ran to Highsmith's side. Now you can't blame Highsmith for not making every rushing play. Like that's not on him, but they are running a lot towards him. And I mean, he did have 1 tackle for loss, and he had eight tackles as well. Like I said, I can't fully blame him, but it was him, and I think Peyton Wilson's on that side, so those two got to shore something up to do something. Peyton Wilson looked kind of out of place. He was sort of non-existent. Him filling in for Landon Roberts, I feel like we felt the loss of Landon Roberts, not really, stuffing holes and filling holes to stuff the run. So yeah, no, Highsmith, great for him. 8 pressures is crazy. Hope he continues and has a more productive year than this year. Hopefully he can stay healthy, but let's hope that side of the D line can figure out the run game.
Yeah, and Cole Holcomb, no snaps, by the way.
Yeah, which is interesting.
That was interesting, and Mike Tomlin addressed that. I think it came up in a question that someone had asked him, and definitely commented on it, and just said, it's varsity football. It's not Little League. We don't have to play everyone, and probably just felt like, he didn't necessarily have a role in this game, and
Yeah.
we're not one to say that's the right or the wrong decision, but
Right.
that was just definitely something to bring up. I want to talk about real quickly Jalen Ramsey on defense. I have a tweet here from Alex Kozora that just talks about his snaps and his alignment and where he was on the defense. He played every single snap, for what it's worth. 35 he lined up in the slot, 15 outside corner, 13 snaps at safety, and 1 he lined up as an inside linebacker.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting, and this was expected, right? We knew how versatile he could be, and we knew that, or we were hoping and expecting that this was going to be something in terms of how Jalen Ramsey gets spread out. But I think his presence was seen, even though this defense performed pretty well, and he made that, we talked about Chris Boswell's game-winning kick, but it was really the Jalen Ramsey hit on 4th down that ultimately sealed the game for us. So
Yep.
I would give him actually kind of the game-winning play there. So yeah, any thoughts or additional takeaways you have on Ramsey?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about versatility coming in, and he proved it in week one, which was awesome. I actually think, I know you missed the first players too, but I think on the first play he was lined up at safety, which is pretty funny that, first snap on defense for the entire year he comes out at safety. I mean, if you look at his numbers from PFF, again, take that with a grain of salt, but he had an 87.5 coverage grade, 24 coverage snaps, 6 receiving yards allowed, and 2 forced incompletions, which, by the way, were the last 2 plays of the game for the Jets. Because on third down, he also made the really good play to force the incompletion as well. So I thought Ramsey played really well. He played with an edge. I kind of talked about that earlier with like Juan Thornhill, but and maybe Jabril Peppers, but I thought Ramsey played with an edge, getting in a fight with Wilson in the first half, and I think he really set the tone for the defense, and we sort of need that, right? We don't have any, quote unquote killers on the back end, and I think Jalen Ramsey's going to bring that. I think he also is going to help in the run game, and I loved what I saw. I mean, he was everything that I expected and everything I hoped for coming out of the trade with him. So I thought he was great, and I'm just looking for him to get better.
How do you think that relationship is with DK right now?
Oh my gosh, did you see what DK said after the game? DK was like, "Hey, don't worry. I've been on the other side of of those plenty of times. I'm happy to be on this side."
Yeah.
He basically spoke very, very highly of Ramsey. And I don't know if you noticed this too, and this kind of goes into a broader thing I've noticed about the team. The first person off the bench celebrating that hit by Jalen Ramsey was DK Metcalf. He was actually like 2 yards onto the field, like going to hug Ramsey. Like I just feel like some of these additions, and this is a little bit more than just the defense, but the Jalen Ramseys, the DK Metcalfs, the Aaron Rodgers, even Darius Slay, who maybe not might not lead by his voice as much. These guys came here to win, and these guys are setting the edge, and I think that they're more of a team. Like I know we had the Cam Hayward contract stuff, but this team seems to be really together, and they all have one purpose, and they're all rooting for each other, which I think is super, super cool. It just seems like a different mentality, I guess, than past years to me. And I think those 4 veterans are like very, very key, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We haven't had a veteran or like a guy that was willing to speak up and speak his mind and whip everybody into shape like Aaron Rodgers or even DK Metcalf. And you can say the same about Jalen Ramsey. I don't think that's the kind of guy TJ Watt is. And Jalen Ramsey will tell you off if he needs to. And I think that's a really big key to this team.
Yeah, couldn't put it any better. And Jalen Ramsey, elite trash talker. If you go back
Oh
and
my
watch some of his
gosh.
videos, I mean, he's chirping, and it's pretty incredible to watch. Or
Thornhill's pretty bad too, so those two on the same team is going to be scary for the other teams.
yeah, I love that for us. We need to get kind of down and dirty a little bit.
I agree.
In that sense. Okay, anything else you want to say on defense? Because we owe a little bit of a special teams recap, which I can hit very quickly.
Yeah, we just got to mention. I mean, we gave up 200 passing yards to Justin Fields. The secondary blew some coverages. That touchdown to Garrett Wilson was wide open. Looked like a
Yep.
blown miscommunication. But I will say, out of the entire defense, that is the part that is new. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. got hurt, which they think he's going to be okay, but he got hurt. Darius Slay's new. Jalen Ramsey's new. Deshaun Elliott went out, and Chuck Clark's new. Juan Thornhill's new. That entire back end is new. So I do expect communication to get better, but it definitely was not up to snuff with what we expected to start the year.
Yeah, good point. Okay, good way to close out the
Yep.
defense there. We'll recap special teams really quick, and I just want to highlight the fact that it's this kickoff thing is going to be very unique and very different this year with what they've incorporated in terms of the touchbacks. So
Yeah.
we actually had 6 kickoff returns, no punt returns in this game. And I remember I'm only bringing this up because one of the questions you had asked is, are we going to see a return for a touchdown? And I would say most of the time, I feel like when those happen in the NFL, and this is just me speaking as a fan, I don't have any stats in front of me, but it feels like returns for touchdowns generally come from punt returns
Yeah.
more so than kickoff returns. And this year, I think it could be different with that. We had, again, 6 total different kickoffs that we had returned, and generally speaking, they were for like 20 to 30 yards. So we're going to see the chance for players to get separation, and
Yeah.
depending on blocks, who knows what could happen. So we have Caleb Johnson and Kenneth Gainwell back there right now as our kind of returners. Nothing from the punt return perspective, as I mentioned. That's Calvin Austin. And then kicking, Chris Boswell, 2 for 2. You mentioned his kick in the 50s, but we had that 60-yard field goal to kind of top things off. 4 for 4 from extra points, and punting. Corliss Waitman averaged 47.5 yards. You nailed this on the head. Like, he really is a boom or bust kind of
Boomer
player.
bust.
He has some really, really great, awesome hang time and like consistent, not consistent, like huge boots.
Yeah.
And then he has not a shank, but he'll have like a 35, 40-yard punt that just looks like shit and doesn't
Yep.
go past midfield. So we got to find that level of consistency. Nothing that really like extremely concerned me with this, watching him punting, but I would like to see a little bit more consistency. And I don't want to be questioning the fact that we made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
So I really would like to see Corliss Waitman perform well.
Well, and Cam Johnson just got signed by the Bills, so we can't get him back. But I mean,
Did he?
yeah, I was waiting for you to call me out with the Corliss Waitman because I'm pretty sure I was talking a little bit of shit during the game on him. So, yeah, he's very boomer bust. His long was 50. I don't know if I'll fault him because I feel like we were around the 50. We weren't really kicking from the deep in our end very much. But yeah,
Kickoffs make a difference for sure.
yeah, right. Right. So I hope Waitman, starts to get more consistent. But yeah, I think the return game is going to be interesting. Caleb Johnson did fumble. Luckily, Juan Thornhill got on it and we got the ball back. But that's something to keep an eye on. I mean, the rules are completely different. Nobody wants to, like, the kicking team doesn't want to give the ball at the 35. And so, like, I do think there's going to be a lot more returns. So we'll see if we can get anything out of it.
Totally. Okay. Are you ready to give a balls of steel and a jag off? It's been a while. We haven't been able to do this.
It has been. I know it's weird being back. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All
Go
right.
ahead. You can go first.
I think we start with the negatives.
Sure.
Always want to end on a high end, especially with this week 1 victory. So we'll start with our jag off of the week. I'm going to go right ahead and say my jag off of the week here is Terrell Austin. And there's, all the things that we touched on already. Almost 400 yards for the Jets in terms of total offense. We had 1 sack against this team. We forced no turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. We let them possess the ball for 35 minutes. You already made the comment that, the defense had said we weren't prepared for Justin Fields to run. But I think that was like the nail in the coffin for Terrell Austin, from my perspective, was that Justin Fields touchdown on the boot. You had Justin Fields on your team for a full year, and you can't tell me that in a goal line defensive package, you're not going to have someone follow Justin Fields regardless of what's going on. Like, Justin Fields, great play, like great job, but he duped the entire Steelers defense. How are you not going to have one guy that just sticks on him the entire
We
time?
used to do that last year. We'd bring him in to do that exact thing.
I know, and the fact that they didn't think that was going to happen, or
Yeah.
laziness, lack of preparedness, whatever you want to call it. Like, you don't have to go outsource the tape on Justin Fields. You have it in-house from last year.
In every practice.
Put it on the freaking thing and watch it.
Yeah.
And you know what he's capable of. So Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, gets my jag off of the week. Just a piss-poor performance. And like you said, a lot of new guys on the defensive side of the ball, some injuries. Harmon's out. Elliott went out. I am blaming this more on the coaching than the actual players. So that's my jag off of the week.
And it's a theme, and I'm gonna do the first one of the year right in week
Double
1.
down.
Not Terrell Austin. I'm gonna give it to Mike Tomlin.
Mike T already.
I'm gonna give it to Mike T. I know it's week 1. I know we're 1-0, but how many years have we talked about this? He has such a big influence on the defense to the point where, like, Keith Butler left because of that, and everybody's saying he controls Terrell Austin, and everything he preached was to stop the run, and we were changing mentality, changing scheme, doing this, doing that. It was the exact same as the playoff game. It felt like a carbon copy of the playoff game last year against the Ravens, where they ran all over us. And how do you go 6 months, 9 months, first of all, not preparing for Justin Fields to run the ball, and then second of all, talking all this talk and then backing it up with nothing? I think it starts from the top with Mike Tomlin. I think he has a huge impact on that defense. And the other aspect is Terrell Austin's been bad for a couple years. I mean, I think you and I both agree with that. Maybe that's not universally agreed with, but he's not been the best, and they decided to stick with him. I mean, that's on Mike
That's a
Tomlin.
Tomlin decision. Yeah.
It's on Mike Tomlin. So I know it's early. I know we want to know. It's probably not worth it to waste it on him now, but I have to give it to Mike Tomlin.
All right. I'm actually gonna let you lead in here for your balls of steel for the week because I'm just excited to hear who you have because I think there's a lot of good candidates, honestly, and I think I have a good one myself, but I don't know if it will be generally appreciated. But I want you to lean in here.
Mine's obvious. Mine's the obvious one. I mean, I've been praising him. I've been asking for it for all off season. Aaron Rodgers gets my balls of steel. I
All
mean,
right.
I think he backed up everything that I was saying in the offseason. I know it's one game, so I mean it's fun to overreact, but I think he did. He looked the part. He looked healthy. He looked like he did at the end of the year. 22 of 30 for 244 yards, 4 TDs was awesome. I mean, in a clean pocket, he was 20 of 25 for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's phenomenal. But here's really what I like, and this is the Arthur Smith side of things. He's buying in. He completed 6 of 8 play action passes for 75 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's tied for his most TDs on play action passes in a game since 2016. He's not a big play action pass guy. He did it all on Sunday, and he looked phenomenal doing it. And I think that kind of marriage, to use everybody's word, if he's willing to do that and he's going to succeed with it, I feel really, really good about what that offense can be. And I think it's also pretty cool because that meant a lot to him. You could tell how much that game meant to him. Getting the 5-minute interview, flying across the country for a 5-minute interview with their new coach. I just Aaron Rodgers did what he set out to do, take the Jets down, and I just hope he can continue to build on this. So yeah, this was an easy one to me. I didn't even have another thought. It had to be Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, I love it. It's a good balls. He I think is definitely a very worthy candidate. And I gotta say, I loved what he said in his. It was the on the field post game interview where
Yeah,
he just said, I know there's a lot of people that didn't want me to be part of this franchise and that doubted me, and I hope I proved a lot of them wrong. And I think he knows that folks like myself who at the very beginning just didn't really fully buy into this, and he got me to buy in. He made me believe, and he did even more so after that performance. So I'm generally excited for it. And
yeah,
I was talking to my uncle. I was texting him. Shout out Uncle Mike. I had just asked him, briefly because we were having dinner last month at home when I was back home in Pittsburgh, and he just wasn't a Rodgers fan. Just wasn't about it. And
yeah.
I had asked him if his opinion changed after the game, and he said, yeah, he's a lot more optimistic now. So but maybe fully not on the train.
Sure.
I'm gonna jump there, but that it was cool. Cool to hear that. So
I do want to add, I think Aaron Rodgers, the person, is getting really good press right now. At least there's a lot of
true.
Steelers like Brandon Fajeko. I don't know, Braden Fajeko.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he came out and said that he went in not thinking Rodgers was a great guy, and now says he's like one of his best friends, and said he couldn't be a better guy. The whole story with him throwing with the Jets ball boy before the game, like all these little things. Now that he's with the Steelers, things are coming out. Like, hey, I think people need to lay off Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's good for the team too. Maybe we can get a little bit more positivity around him.
Totally.
He's still a weirdo, but we love him on the
Yeah,
field.
but hey, I mean, if you're gonna come in and throw 244 yards,
That's all we care about.
that's good enough for me on game day. So, listen, I think that's a great pick, very very deserving. If you know me and know how predictable I am, anyone and their mother is gonna think that I'm gonna say Chris Boswell.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a performance with that kick. And again, we talked about it for probably way too long at the beginning of this episode
Worth it.
for how stoked we were about it. But I'm actually not going to go there, and I'm going to give what I would say maybe a little bit of a kind of a pull balls of steel. Honestly, this is
Love it.
something you would pull here, but I'm going to give my week 1 balls of steel to Omar Khan.
I
And
love
here's
it.
the reason I'm going to do it. You talked about Aaron Rodgers and you talked about what he did. Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin were the reason that move happened. But
Yeah.
talk about the other big acquisitions that Omar Khan made this year and the contributions that these guys made to the team. DK Metcalf, 4 catches for 83 yards. His presence was clearly felt on the
Yeah.
field because look at the production that Rodgers had passed into these other guys. Calvin Austin was open for the touchdown, getting our tight ends involved, our running backs involved. Ben Skoranek for a freaking touchdown.
Yeah.
That's due a lot in part to, defenses really playing heavily on DK Metcalf. So
True.
that was such, you talked about how he really is our wide receiver one, and it's awesome to see that. But again, like that is all credit to Omar Khan for bringing him in. But it doesn't stop there, right? Jonnu Smith, 5 catches and the touchdown for him. Yards not anything to write home about, but his presence was definitely felt there.
For
And
sure.
then you go to a guy like Jalen Ramsey who had that game-winning pass breakup, right? This team, this group of brand new personnel that you had said these guys want to win and they came here to win. This was made possible by Omar Khan, and it's something that the Steelers aren't used to. This is and we won in an unconventional way. This is in some ways an unconventional team that we have here, but it's built by our GM, and I'm gonna give this week one balls of steel and game ball to Omar Khan for what he did, because I believe that his presence was really felt from these guys. So that's my logic there and my reasoning for Omar Khan.
You could even throw Kenneth Gainwell in there. I mean, he
Absolutely.
had the forced fumble on the kickoff. He played a ton on offense. Hey, I love that finally, after however many years of us doing this, I finally was able to rub off on you and you go with an ex non-player for one of your balls of steel. But hey, I think your reasoning is completely sound, and I completely agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, let's just hope that this is something that we continue to build on, right? We have a big game coming
Yeah.
up against the Seahawks, revenge game, so to say, for DK Metcalf. It's our home opener, so it's hopefully set to be a good game. I think we should go ahead and preview it.
Yeah,
Anything
let's
you
do
want to
it.
roll into? All right, let's do it. So, 1 o'clock game, as we mentioned, home opener against the Seahawks. This is pretty similar in terms of being predicted by Vegas to be a low-scoring game. I think the line right now is at 39.5 points, and the Steelers are currently set at 2.5 point
Yep.
favorites. So if you do the math, that's another kind of 21-18 type game, is where the odds makers are going. So I might go ahead and bet this over again if the Steelers can put some points on the board, if it's going to be a good weather game. Um, the Seahawks have a little bit of kind of a new team and new coaching staff themselves. Sam Darnold is now their quarterback. Losing DK Metcalf, you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's their starting wide receiver. And then you have, I would say, kind of a powerhouse duo at running back with both Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. This is a team that played San Francisco last week. They
Yep.
did lose that game, but their defense is pretty stingy. They had a pretty good game against the 49ers, letting up only 20 points to them. I think they lost that game 20-13, if I have that right.
17-13. Yep.
17-13. Yeah, so pretty low scoring, close game for them. But again, that defense I think that they have is pretty stingy. So if we're able to take advantage of, or if we're able to kind of play well against that defense, then I think this is a game where our defense can step up against, maybe a less high powered Seattle offense than what it has been historically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth mentioning in that game last week for the Seattle, they gave up 384 yards to San Francisco. Only 17 points, but 384 yards, and that includes
Yeah.
George Kittle getting hurt early. Juwan Jennings either didn't play or got hurt early. And Ricky Pearsall, I believe, had a really good game. Who, if you don't know who that is, yeah, 4 for 105, 108. That's their number one receiver. And so, if he was able to
Maybe
get
not that
open,
stingy.
right? So if he was able to get open with all these weapons hurt, maybe DK Metcalf can get open with all of our weapons available. So let's look for that. And then on the flip side of the ball, yeah, I mean, the Seahawks only had 230 yards against the 49ers. So they struggled, only a net of 146 passing yards, and only 84 yards on the ground. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I hope that they don't run on us, but theoretically at this point, I believe anybody can run on us. So we need to prove a point here. This needs to be a game where we take away the run and we stop the run and make Sam Darnold beat us through the air, and we'll see what happens. I think injuries are important to note. Derek Harmon is, I think, starting to practice again, but he's not going to be ready for this game. He's already rolled out. They're hoping to have him back for week 3, so we do miss him. They already rolled out Deshaun Elliott, and they already rolled out. Dang it, they rolled out somebody else as well. I can't remember who.
The
But we
linebacker, right? Malik Harrison.
Oh, Malik Harrison, thank you. Special teamer, linebacker, yeah. But they did say Nick Herbig, Tomlin hopes he comes back, and he hopes that Joey Porter Jr. also plays, which both of those would be big pieces for the defense, I think. So I'm not going to give any stats. It's hard to give more stats than what I said. There's only 1 week of games, but it really important is Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best receiver on the Seahawks, and like you said, they have that two-headed monster, both really good running backs. Like I said, if we take away the running game, we play better run defense. I think we should be okay.
Yeah, I hope so. So, give us a score prediction. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the 30 points might not happen again, but I do think we will put some points on the board. I'm really going to go for a pretty easy cover here. I think we're going to come out ready to play a home opener. I'm going to go 27-17. Steelers come out on top.
Hitting the over, Steelers covering spread. That's where you're landing.
Yep.
I think that sounds reasonable. I feel good. Maybe this isn't necessarily a feeling that we should have, and we could definitely eat our words come recapping this game next week. But
Yeah.
I like how things look on paper right now against this Seattle team, and I think the Steelers are the better team. Certainly, we're favored by Vegas. Granted, it's a home game, but hopefully we get a good showing by the fans, and this is a game that we can put under our belt pretty easily, and maybe win a game not by just one possession. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, I think everybody would love that. Do you have a bold prediction?
Oh man, I didn't even think of a bold prediction. Do you have one? I need to.
Yeah, I have a couple. I think I'm gonna go, kind of go to what I normally go to here. I think it's gonna be a big TJ Watt game. I know they only gave up 1 sack last week to San Francisco, and I think it was a Nick Bosa sack. The offensive line is a little questionable for Seattle. That's one of their biggest question marks. So I'm looking for TJ Watt to come in and get 2 sacks in this game.
Okay, I love that. I think we're based on what we saw in the second half of last game. I think this is going to be a 100-yard game from Jaylen Warren, rushing plus receiving.
Love it.
I don't know if he'll hit 100 on the ground itself, but I do think that we're going to build on some of what we saw in the second half, and so we get Jaylen Warren kind of back involved as a little bit of that bell cow back. I know that Kenneth Gainwell is going to be sprinkled in and involved a lot on some of those longer second downs and some of those passing plays, but I do think that Jaylen Warren has it to prove to himself and to the fan base and to the team that he can go out there and perform. So I'd love to see Jaylen Warren come out and play pretty hard. So that's a little bit of kind of I would say a gutsy pick. But
I love it. I mean, I'll be honest. I would rather that happens than the TJ Watt get 2 sacks. I think that's more critical to the success of our team than TJ Watt getting 2 sacks. So I love it. I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, got to get the run game involved. That's how you win games, right? So
Yep.
Get it going on the ground, and we'll be in good shape.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, great stuff. Fun recap. Good to be back talking Steelers after a regular season game, and especially after a victory. Always fun. Thank you to everyone for listening, for watching, for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with a recap of the Seahawks game.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Peace.